Boom. Tell me I'm on time. Tell me that I hit the mark at 18:30. Tell me this. Tell me that I was faithful and I rose to the occasion. I posted that I would be here at 18:30, and tell me that I hit the mark. Break it down for me. Guys, tell me, what do you think of this shirt? Tell me. Although I must tell you, the shirt fits perfectly. I need a size bigger than this one, and then it would be perfect. What I need to hear you tell me at this very moment is that this broadcast is loud and clear. The thing that I do not want to hear is that you can see me, but you can't hear me. For a social media commentator like myself, those words are just going to irritate the heck out of me. They are. So, in addition to that, I'm going to ask you, please, to share this live. Bo, is that you? Bo Allen? I see you, Bo. Is that who? Is that Stacy Beamer? My dear friend Stacy Beamer. My dear friend Bo Allen. Zed Car something or other. Thank you, guys. Thank you for jumping on here real quick. Please share this live with people that you think would be interested in this conversation. These are the types of conversations we need to have. And dare I say, they are absolutely imperative to have. We are in a much better position when we talk the way we talk about the things we talk about. Guys, before I get into my little dissertation, did you guys hear that the American embassy, well, not the American embassy, the American government has announced that as of August the 20th, 2025, Zambian nationals that are eligible to receive a visa, a B1, B2 visa, will now be required to pay or to post a bond on that visa application of $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. These are three different tiers. It just depends on what type of visa that you're applying for. B1 falls under, what is it? Is it it's B1 and 2, B1 and B2 are two different types of visas. One falls under business. You know, for example, if you apply to get a visa and you're traveling to the States, that falls under B1, which is under the category of business. B2 falls under the category of if you're a tourist or you're visiting, or it could be a combination of both. It just depends on what type of visa that you're applying for. Now, I know I said this in my previous video that I posted not too long ago, but it bears repeating, and I think I should say this again, and it's this. What the U.S. government means when they say that you have to post a bond of, for instance, $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, depending on the type of visa that you're applying for. What that means is when you pay that money, when you pay the $5,000, for instance, and the U.S. government gives you a visa, grants you, not grants, but gives you a visa, your application to get a visa is successful. They give a visa, you get on a plane, you travel to the States, you do whatever the hell it is you're doing over there, and then when you come back, that deposit that you paid, whether it's $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, again, depending on the type of visa that you applied for. Once you come back, the American government gives you back the bond, the money. They give it back to you. That is a very clever way of making sure you come back. What the Americans don't want is for you to overstay. And me, more than anybody else, I know what that means. I overstayed in America. And this was back in the 80s. Sorry, I went to the States in 1989, but I was deported in 1990, I was 95, 96, somewhere there. And the reason I was deported was because I didn't have my documents in order. And I overstayed because my documents were not in order. And how many people know that Americans don't like that when you overstay? So they're trying to curb, the Trump administration is trying to curb this overstaying that we do as Zambians when we go to their country. But what I find interesting, I know I posted it and I have to make a correction. I was under the impression that Americans paid $25 to $40 to come into Zambia for their visa. Well, apparently that's all been waived. Americans don't have to pay anything to come into Zambia. So we pay $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to go to the States, while Americans come here and they pay nothing. So go figure. The disparity is yours to examine. Okay, and I understand that Trump is trying to sort of sort of circle the wagons on the issue of illegal immigration. I understand that, and good luck to them. So now, if you want to go to America, your biggest expense is not your plane ticket. Your biggest expense is not your hotel bill. Your biggest expense is not your transportation. Your biggest expense is not the food that you're going to eat while you're in the States. Now, your biggest expense is that bond that you have to pay when you apply for your visa. The world's changed, honey. The world has evolved. And we have to evolve with it. Okay? That's the name of the game. All right. Guys, I want to talk to you about Christopher Kangome. Many of you know that in the several, I would say about 4 or 5 months, there's been this idea that youth participation should be more apparent in our political space here in Zambia. And one of the first people to sort of, lead the charge on youth participation in politics, many people thought it was Makitu. It wasn't Makitu. The very first person that sort of led this charge, and he announced it in a very roundabout way, was Munir Zulu. Munir Zulu was one of the first people that I heard talk about his insatiable appetite to become president. Munir Zulu was a guest on one of these talk shows, and he was feeling himself. He was sort of, not only was he self-aggrandized, brother was pumped. He said, "Oh, I'm ready for the presidency." And then a short time later, we heard people like Makitu start talking about youth participation. And then here a couple of weeks ago, we heard this young man from Ghana, Binwe Mpundu, throw his hat into the ring of political participation. And once again, he was feeling himself, and he said, "Look, I can be president." And here most recently is Christopher Kangome, a brilliant young man from Kitwe. Christopher Kangome has been in the political space for quite some time. I mean, he's university educated. He's an engineer by profession or by education. He served as counselor. He served as mayor of the city of Kitwe. And he served as member of parliament. And I was listening to what he was saying when he was sort of running down the list of things that he had done. And rightly so. I mean, well deserved, because, you know, he not only did he fight long and hard for those positions, you know, he put in the work. He did. He put in the work, and the results are self-evident. The only thing I took note of, though, is that a lot of these young people are embroiled in the ambition of becoming president. What I'm seeing is that they're losing sight of the service component and the patriotism of this country. What I'm seeing is a deep-seated, a deep-rooted desire to become the president of this nation. But I'm not seeing a lot of patriotism. I'm not seeing a lot of service to country. I'm not seeing to country first. What I'm seeing is young people saying, oh, I can do it. I can be president. I can sit in that seat. I can have people salute at me when I walk down the aisle. I can sit in a beautiful big cars and an entourage of a battalion of police personnel are trailing in front of me and behind me. I can do that. I can see myself in a position of power. If you're going in it for that, you're not going to get very far. Listen to me, young people. If that is your ambition, if that is your sole goal, is to be president, the ambition, you're not going to get very far, because people see through you. People see that. What the people of Zambia want and what they need is a service-oriented candidate. Yes, the perks come along with the presidency. We understand that. The Word of God says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then all these things shall be added unto you. Seek first the desire to serve this nation. Seek first patriotism. The country comes first. Not your ambition, not your desire to be called a president. President. That's all I'm seeing with these young people. And I must tell you and point out, quite honestly, that in America there's a saying in the States: every congressman, every senator that wakes up in the morning and washes their face and they look in the mirror, every senator, every congressman is potentially looking at the next president of the United States. So from this pool of leaders that we have, definitely one of them will become president. Definitely. But there is a path to the presidency. It's not going to happen by luck, spontaneous combustion, or osmosis. Which brings me to three things Christopher Kangome said that I want to highlight very quickly. Notwithstanding, a lot of these young people are ignoring one fact that, in a way, disadvantages them. They're losing sight of this. Their age. Yes, constitutionally, our Constitution says you can only be a president if you are 35 years old or above. They've met that threshold. But realistically speaking, in our country, when you're young, when you're too young, the presidency is not within your reach, or at least not in this dispensation. And I'm saying that very realistically. Christopher Kangome is 41 years old. 41. He's got 2 kids. He's very bright, very well educated. But he's so young. He's young. Now, does he have a future in politics? Absolutely. Could he possibly be a president one day? They all can. Kangome can be a president. Binwe Mpundu can possibly be a president. Harry Kalava, he can be president. It just depends on how you position yourself. Now, let me highlight three things very quickly that Christopher Kangome, and incidentally, his middle name is Chishimba. Did you guys know this? Christopher Chishimba Kangome from Kopala. These Kopala chaps, they want to take over the world, boy. Christopher Kangome says, between now and August of 2026, there are 12 months left before the next general elections. And I have to make a decision. So between now and December, he says, I have to decide whether or not I am ready for the presidency. Now, that's just a clever way of saying he's going to think about it. But the truth is, he's already made up his mind. We know he's going to announce that he's going to run for president. The writing is on the wall. We know exactly what's going on, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just find it strange that these young people, they keep wanting to hide behind obscurity. No, I'll decide between the very fact that you have said you are contemplating it, and that in December you are going to make an announcement and a decision as to whether or not you're going to run for president. Honey, you've already decided. The writing is on the wall. Just simply come out and be honest about it and say, I'm going to run. There's no reason, there's no need to say, no, in December I'm going to sit down and I'm going to find out whether or not I'm going to run. You're going to run, okay, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So the first thing Christopher Kangome said that I want to highlight on is that he said, I have to introspectively ask myself, logistically, am I ready for the position of president? That's what he said. And I can tell you the answer is no. Logistically, you're not ready for the presidency. You're not. Because logistics is not just about money. It's about political structure. If Christopher Kangome is hoping to gain the PF nomination, he's shooting in the dark. That one he won't get. Why? Because PF is full of wolves that disdain people like Kangome. They don't like young, ambitious politicians. They don't like promising young people in positions of power. You know why? Among many other reasons, he's too young. He's simply too young. 41? 41, that's too young. So they are going to sideline him. If his hope, if his desire, if his game plan is to be elected as the PF nominee, presidential nominee of that organization, he's shooting in the dark. They will not nominate him. And if and when they don't, it means he's out in the cold. It means now he has to fend for himself. And logistically, it's not possible to be a president outside of an established conclave and then say to yourself, no, in MPF, I'll start my own party. Start your own party. Do you know how long, do you know how many years that's going to shave off of your political life when you go that route? We've seen the best of them do that. It's a long, treacherous, slippery slope to go that direction. So the answer, when Christopher Kangome asks, logistically, am I ready for this position? The answer is no, you're not logistically. Because even from a financial point of view, to traverse this country, you don't run as president as a lone wolf. And this is another thing that I find strange about these young politicians. People like Binwa Mpundu, they think that they can just wing it as a sole candidate. If you shala fika is over. No. Politics is not about fika is over. It's about having a clear roadmap to where you want to be. And you need a team. You need a structure. You need a system. You can't just wake up and say, I want to be president. Those ideas are from a bygone era. That dispensation was in Bachirwanva Mwanawasa. In 2025, the game has changed. You have to evolve with the current political scenario. If you don't evolve, you'll be left behind. Do you understand? So the answer to the first question is Christopher Chishimba Kangome is not logistically ready now. Will he be ready one day? Possibly, yes. If he keeps at it. He's got youth on his side. The other thing, let me talk openly about this idea of youth in leadership, in positions of power like the presidency. When you are 41 years old, you don't have a holistic perspective of the world. You simply don't. You think you do, but you don't. Okay, it's going to take a few years to get there, but with consistency, with grit, with hard work, with visibility of work, with love of country, with patriotism, you've got a chance in time. Okay? Number two, would I win if I aimed for higher office? Meaning, as you know, Kangome is the member of parliament for Kamfinsa, there in Kitwe. What he's asking here is that if I aim for higher office higher than MP, which in his mind is the presidency. I disagree with him. I don't think it's MP and then presidency. There are many stations before you get to presidency, I believe. But Kangombe says, would I win if I aimed for higher position, which is the presidency in his mind? The answer is no, not now. No, you wouldn't win now. You wouldn't. In Zambian geopolitical politics, you must understand, we are not, don't draw inspiration from that young man from, what's his name? Tell me in the comments. This young man, the guy that wears a red beret, Muzambia tutira Barrett. What's his name? Tell me in the comments. Is it Burkina Faso? Burkina Faso? What's his name? Tell me his name. Tell me his name. I'll wait. I know this is a bit of a lag. Yes, Ibrahim Traore. Do not draw inspiration from that guy. Why? That guy gained power through a coup d'etat. So he cannot be your inspiration. No, he's young, he's energetic. Yeah, but he got power through a coup d'etat. That is not our portion as Zambians. That is not our piece of cake as Zambians. That is not the way we do things here in this country. Coup d'etats in this country are disdained. Or as we say in Zambia, ni kupu. Ama kupu. Not in Zambia. Trust a Zambian to totally mispronounce it. Do you understand? Coup d'etats. We dislike coup d'etats. So don't cite that young man, Ibrahim, and say he's your inspiration because he's young. No. He's not elected by the people of that country. We attain presidential leadership through the voice of the people, not by force. So don't cite him as your inspiration. Lastly, Christopher Chishimba Kangome. And I love that name. Don't you love that name? Christopher Chishimba Kangome. Lastly, he says, what would be the best chance for me if I stood as president? Well, you wouldn't have your chances would be slim to none in 2026. Now, there's this idea that no, they have to participate so that they try the waters, so that they get their names out there. Yes, yes, yes. That's a good way of looking at it. But the cost implication of that route, in Congo, presidential campaign. Do you know what debt is in Congo? Mwewa Tila, no, he's a young man. Allow him. Allow him to test the waters so that his name can go out there, so that people know him, so that do you know the monetary cost implications of trial and error? Do you know? You don't know because you are not presidential candidates. You can't know. About to tell that my presidential candidate, they don't sleep. You are now on your iPhone 67 Pro Max Auto. He's just thinking about in Congole. So don't pull your heads out of the clouds. Be realistic. So my advice to Christopher Chishimba Kangome, have a plan. Notwithstanding, when you've got so many opposition political players vying for the same piece of cake, that's just the surest way for the ruling party to bounce back. If you've got 25 young political participants, in a president, you are a fragmented opposition. And it won't be a case of winner takes all on the opposition side. No, it won't be like that. Come up with them. And this is why I say they are all too ambitious. They're all just thinking about themselves. None of them are thinking about patriotism. It's all about them, their names. I'll be the president. Yeah, keep talking like that. By 2026, mukafika nangu 50. I'm a presidential candidate. Aba HFB Kabek. Bantu ifika ngomba 41. There's a young man out there who's watching Kangombe saying, Kangombe is 41. I'm 32. I'm 36. I'm above the presidential threshold. If Kangombe can do it, I can also do it. So what you're going to end up having is 50 candidates full of testosterone, full of ambition. I can do it. Yeah, but when you look at the math is not mathing. And you know what they say? If it's not making dollars, then it's not making sense. You just end up being known as presidential candidates without having attained the position of president. Tukalami Shimikafi, Kwadika Ngombe. He wanted to be president without actually attaining. Why? Because you haven't planned properly. You have allowed ambition to blind your political desires. Ambition. Make the distinction. And this is why, let me lastly say, after 19 hours, this is why I believe in this country we need campaign finance reform. We need to rethink how campaign financing, the role that campaign financing plays in our politics. Politicians should not be the ones dishing out money to people. No, it is you and I who support a political candidate. We are the ones that are supposed to be giving money to that organization, not the candidate personally. No, a political party, properly registered, properly structured, properly aligned. If the vision is there, the manifesto is clear, there is a clear goal as to what they want to accomplish. It is the citizenry that is supposed to empower and give to that political party, not the other way around. Because every Zambian candidate, they are just slot machines. They are ATM machines. Oh, Kangome the president. Bwana, alakuno nafi shup. Kangome, you want to be president. How chawama? Ukubungani, we need 20 bags. Elionga wakana, it means you're not serious. Mulangana nama Zambians. When you announce that you want to be president, waingira mubawden. Bakuikalika ama ward chairman mulia. Bakwe bati, oh, pano mwafika ba presidential candidates mwaisa bueno. Palichiriro, we need 20 bags. Te chakwe shokuranda tita ukwete. You can't say you don't have. The moment you say that, barakushimika. Oh. Wadiana bo ati ewa ngaba president ne saka yabu ngata bachireta. Nomba wakatusunga sha. Ngafira afirwa 20 bags lelo. Ngokutule. Not no mwina Zambia. Good night, I gotta go.